Hey there, welcome to Leg Design Academy. In this video, I'll be teaching you all you need to know to get started with learning Photoshop and how to use Photoshop as a complete no knowledge required. So let's get right into it. Hey, so I'll be teaching you how to use the tool Adobe Photoshop, and the version of Photoshop I'm using is Photoshop CC, and I like to use this one to teach because it has a fair amount of effect on your laptop, and by that I mean that it doesn't take too much space, doesn't take too much effort from the processor to allow it to run, and not everybody can afford an expensive laptop that can run Photoshop 2022 and Photoshop 2023 and all of that. But Photoshop 6 CC is I think that's version 2016, and anyone with a Core i3 laptop actually can use it. So let's get right into it. So this is the interface of Photoshop, and this is going to appear when you launch Photoshop. Now I want to explain the tiny objects that you see here and everywhere. So this is the menu bar. I call it a menu bar because it has a lot of options, there are a lot of menus to choose from. If I click on this now, you see different options, and I call this a property bar. Why? Because when you click on every tool here, you notice how the properties are changing. So I call this the property bar because every property changes every time I click on any tool. And I also call this the property bar because it also have properties like this is an extended, like I just call it like an expansion. It's a place where you hang your properties that I call it functions, some particular things that you just like to have in the corner where you need them at a particular point in time. You bring them to this particular panel here, so that I call it the property bar also. And this here is the layers panel. It's a place where whenever you create a design, whenever you are creating your design, and for each move you make, for everything that you do, it creates a layer for you. For every object you place, for every text, for everything you do, literally to create a layer for you. And each layer is going to keep on coming on top of each other till you finish your design. So this is where the layers are going to be. And if you click here, you see the channels and the path. Okay, when I open a page now, you see how this works. So I'm going to explain each menu. I'm going to explain each and every one of this. This might be a long video, but I'll try and make it as short as possible. And okay, now this is when you want to open a new page. Of course, when you want to open a new page, you click on new, and you see this will pop up. And once this pops up, you'd want to name it. You give it a name of your choice. Right now it's untitled one, but I'd like to give it let's call it Lex tutorial 1. That's what I want to call it. And now presets, basically it is there are particular sizes, standard sizes that has already been set before time in Photoshop. When they were creating Photoshop or creating this version of Photoshop, they put this presets. They put these presets, these sizes, and a particular standard, standard size already in the program. So once you click on it, it just gives you all the details. It fills up all of these boxes. So what we like to do is this. If I click on any of this, let's say I click on the US paper, you see how all of these are changed. You see the width changes. The width now, this is an A4 paper, actually this is a letter, so 8.5. The width is 8.5, the height is 11 inches and all of that, and the resolution is 300. And if I change it to, let's say, photo, Now we change this to 3 inches and 2 inches. Now these are presets already, so you won't really have to rack your brain on what exactly is the size. All you need to do is just click on all of this and it gives you that. Let's say you're working for a document, you're working on a document per se, and you click on international paper. Now it gives you a size, an option for size. Then now you can choose what type of paper you want. Now most people work with A4, but let's say you're working with A3 per se. Now you're working with A3. Now it gives you the exact size of A3. All you need to do now is just click OK. That's all you need to do. But let me explain. In the last video we talked about color mode, we talked about RGB for screen and RGB for screen, and we talked about CMYK for print. Right now the color is RGB mode because we are using it for a screen. But let's say we wanted to use it for let's say we wanted to use it for a print, wanted to print maybe a business card or stuff, or a flyer, or a book, then we'll use CMYK. Now grayscale basically turns everything into gray. Yeah, bitmap, it makes everything bitmapped. I do not really know how to break that down exactly, but now this lab color is basically, I think it's for photography, for those that are into photography. Now the background, you can decide your background colors from here. You can choose what you want your color to be, and you can choose whatever it is you want your color, the background to be, before you actually get there. But you can change that afterwards. But most times you actually go with white, and you can make it a transparent color. You just transparent, you don't want anything to be at the back. But I like white, so let's go with white. Okay, so let's say okay. So now this is our page. We just created this page. So now what's the next thing we want to do? The next thing we want to know is, now that was just all in new, that was just explaining new, and now we know how to create a new page. Now the next thing we want to know is open. What does this mean? When you click on this, it says you want to open an existing file. So right now I have a lot of, okay, these are not my files, of course, obviously, but okay, this is a file. Lex YouTube is a file. Golden Tea is a file. So if I click on this now, it's going to open up a previous logo I did for a print company I started with a friend. So now this is the previous logo I did. So yeah, but now we are back to our page. So yeah, when you click on this, it opens an existing file. And let's move down to open recent. Open recent opens not just an existing file, but a file that you have worked on this particular laptop and on this particular Photoshop. So once you work on a design, automatically it will come here to this particular panel and arrange itself amongst them to tell you that you recently worked on this. So whenever you need to quickly get it, and you don't have to go to your documents or go and start searching, all you need to do is come here to open recent, and you'll find what you just opened. If you notice, I just opened this golden tea and it's right here. And if you want to close, if you for some reason you'd like to close this particular document, then you click here, it closes the document. And if you, well, we don't want to do that, so yeah, if you want to close every document, if you notice right now there are two, there's golden tea and there's this. So if you want to close everything, then you close all, everything disappears. And now let's move down to save. Now this is very vital for you as a designer to always learn to save your document, no matter how good your battery is, your laptop battery is. Most times we design for hours, 6 to 7 hours, and we don't really keep track of time. And sometimes power might go off and you're not really noticing that your battery is going down till it dies, and you don't want to work for all that time and lose your document. It's a very crazy experience. It makes you really frustrated. Now this is save as. Once you click on save as, it brings up an option to save not just as a Photoshop file but as different other things. So you can choose that you can save as a large document format, or a BMP, or a composite, whatever it is that you want to save as. Photoshop EPS. There are certain jobs that require you save as any of these, as these things, but most times we usually save as a JPEG. You'd have heard of JPEG before, and this is usually what we use, or a PNG, portable network graphics, or PDF. So it depends on whatever you or and this TIFF is usually for print. So it depends on whatever you are required to use or whatever the design requires you to use. Then you save as that. And there's also save for web. There's place embedded. Place embedded is basically how you bring things from from your desktop or from your document, so basically out of the program, outside of the program, out of your Photoshop, and you bring it into Photoshop. So once I click place embedded, what I'm saying I want to do is I want to bring a particular image or a particular object or a particular, basically an object, from wherever I want to be. Let's say let's go to a neutral place like desktop. Let's see if I can find a picture here. Let's see if I can find a picture. Let's make it large. Okay, so I'll look for something I can find. Okay, let's say this. I want to bring this in, so I click on it and I click on place. When I click on place, it's going to bring it inside of my document. So that is easy, but a faster way to do it is just to drag it and drop it. So if you would minimize this now, I could just go to the desktop. I could go to the desktop and just click on it. This is it, and I drag and drop it, and here we have it again. So I would open this back. Now you notice, let's go back to the layers. You notice how I said every time you bring in something, it creates a layer for you. Now I'll explain better on layers in future videos from now, future classes from now, but let's stick with the menu for now. So the next thing we'll be looking at is I'll be skipping all of this. Some things I don't feel like you need for design for now, yeah, and if you ever need it during the tutorials, I'll be explaining them. Now automate, you need this for sometimes you would like to make a PDF presentation of all the files you have opened together. And once you click on this, it opens all the files together, and you would create your PDF from it. So it becomes a PDF document. It compresses everything to a PDF document, and these are scripts, file info, and you can print from here and also exit the document from here. Now let's move to edit. Edit basically is to it means when you are editing something, it means you are changing it, or you are adding something to it or removing something from it. So now the first thing here is undo. Control plus Z, that's the shortcut. Undo. If we clicked on this now, it means it's saying we want to undo the last action we did. And what the last action we did was we placed embedded a smart object. So we brought in a smart object. So we clicked on undo. Now the object will disappear. If you notice how this is now just a layer, so it will do that. And we can click on it again to say redo and to bring it back. So the next thing we want to do is step forward and step backward. So let's say we pressed step backward. We clicked on step backward, it goes back. Now we don't have anything on our page again. But if we go back there and click on step forward, it brings it back. So you see the magic that Photoshop does. And let's go down to fade, cut, copy. These are usually for text. These are for text when you are working with text. And fill and stroke usually for shapes. And you get to it later as we work throughout, as we work on other things. I'll explain those things, this part. And transform is the one I would like you to actually know, because you can flip things, you can scale them, you can rotate it, you can do whatever you like to rotate it at 180 degrees. You can rotate it at 90 degrees. You can flip it horizontally. Okay, let's try that. Let's look at this. Now this image just flipped horizontally, and let's look at something else. And if you want to flip it vertically, so we do that and it flips vertically. So it's not one hard thing. So as long as you try it out and you see what it does. Then next thing, define brush. These ones are for illustrators, but we can actually look at it. But let's leave that. I would like to move to the next thing. Let's come to image. So now image mode. Remember the mode that we chose at the beginning. I told you that you can actually come and change each of these things and as you go on in your design. You don't have to actually do everything at the beginning. It's not like once you do everything you can't change them again. You can come back and change many things. Right now we are using the RGB color mode. We can change it to the CMYK if you want. That would not do anything. To just change it, just change the color mode, and the colors we'll have as our options to pick from are colors that are a combination of cyan, magenta, yellow and black. And the next thing is adjustments. Right now it is not showing anything, but you can see brightness, level, curves, exposure, vibrance and many of these things. You would check them if you are into photography, or if you want to enhance your picture a little bit. This is where you come to and you see how to toggle all of these things. But right now, if you notice, it is not active. Why is it not active? It means we can't use it. The reason we can't use this is because right now the picture is a smart object, and because it's a smart object, Photoshop will not allow you to tamper with a smart object. So to edit the smart objects, you have to rasterize it. You have to break it down into rasters, into pixels that Photoshop can understand. And there is a trick to do that. All you need to do is right click, and once you right click, you would click on rasterize layer. So once you rasterize layer, nothing changes here, but Photoshop will now understand the image. So now you can do whatever you like with the image. And if you want to increase the brightness to the highest, you can do that. If you want to reduce the lowest, you can do that. So let's leave that like this. I think I like it like this. So now the next thing we want to talk about is auto tone. Actually automatically tones up your image to a standard that Photoshop has set. Auto contrast, the same thing goes for auto contrast. You give it a standard contrast that Photoshop has set. Auto color also give it a particular color. Let's just say more like toning up, but it would, like I said, it made it more warm. You get. So now the next thing we want to do is this image size and canvas size. Image size is basically either resizing. Okay, let's call it. Image size is basically resizing the current selected image you're working on, but canvas size is resizing the whole canvas. This whole canvas. The canvas is basically this white space. So let's click on canvas size, and right now we are using 11 inches and 16 inches. So if I were to change this to let's say 8 inches, once I click on OK, it asks me that do I want to change this. I say yes, and now if you notice how this has been clipped, now we have a new size. So I'm going to click undo, edit, and undo canvas size. Now we have our size back. So now that's how that works. That canvas size works. Image size works the same way. And if you want to duplicate an image and apply an image, you learn about all of these things when you are into photography. Now the next thing we'll talk about is layers. Now remember we explained what the layers are for. They are basically, layers are like variables. They're like containers. They help you to store things. This layer is basically helping to store this image, and every other layer, if I was to write a text now, a layer will come up like a container to help me store that text. So now layer, we can create a new layer. We can create a layer from the background. We can create a layer from we can create a group. We can create a group from several layers. We can create a layer from a layer. This is layer via copy. So if I was going to do this now, it's going to duplicate this particular layer for me. So it created a layer from this layer. So that's basically copying a layer or duplicating a layer. Now the next thing I want to do is duplicate layer. It does the same thing actually. It duplicates the layer into a different now that you have 3 of the same layers. Now let's look for something else. Okay, let me look for something else. Okay, delete. You can actually delete the layer. So if you delete this layer, it would disappear. So what else do you want to do? You can rename a layer. Now if you notice, once you click on this is now highlighted. Now you can decide to call it Lex image. Okay, I spelled that wrongly. Lex image. Now you see the name is different from the other ones. Now we can decide to name our layers to keep track of what we are doing. So the next thing is okay, Okay, layer style. Now layer style, you can add some particular styles to your layers. You can add some styles to your layers, and if I was going to click on blending options, I'll see all of these things are going to be in blending options. When I click on this, it brings up a different panel entirely, and it helps me to I can do whatever I like to this layer. I can add a stroke to the layer. I can, once I click on this, it gives me a stroke, and once I increase this, you notice how the black stroke is increasing, and I can give it a drop shadow. And once I drag this, notice how there's a drop shadow under this. I can do whatever I like with this. This is a place where you do your edits, you get, and the magic you see on flyers and everything you do on Photoshop. I'm going to cancel that because I do not want that. Now the next thing I'm going to be doing is, okay, a new fill layer, a new adjustment layer. This is how you can create layers that already have the things you want in them. Like you fill the layers with a solid color, with a gradient or a pattern. And an adjustment layer is that you do the things that were here, right here, these particular things, these effects that you make on your images, you can come here and create that same effect. Once you create an adjustment layer, let's say for black and white, let's say if you click on black and white, or let's say invert, then click on invert. Now it is going to invert every layer under it. It's going to invert every layer under it, because right now it is not affecting a particular layer, it's affecting whatever layer is under it. So right now it's like a headquarter, and every layer under it is like a sub branch under it. So once any layer that comes on top of it, like I click on this and I drag it, any layer that comes on top of it is going to be free from this tyrant leader per se. So now because the layer is on top of it, now this particular eye icon is basically to say you want to make your layer visible and invisible. So right now it's visible, so we can see the layer. We want to make it invisible, we can see the actual effects that this invert is making on the other layers. Okay, let's now I'd like to undo that. I do not really like this. So yeah, next thing I want to do is layers. I think layer mask. Layer mask, I will be explaining that later, but layer mask basically is you want to reveal or hide a particular part of your image or a particular part of your object. A particular part of your object in Photoshop. You want to hide or reveal some part of it, then you click on layer mask. You create a layer mask for that particular layer, and you would mask a particular part away. So that's that. A vector mask is the same thing, but this time for a vector image. Create clipping mask is how you put things into things, how you put images into a circle or into an object, into a shape, how you put objects into shapes or shapes into objects or text into shapes, whatever it is. It's basically clipping something inside another thing. So that's how you do that. Once you click on that, whatever layer you are on, it gets clipped into the layer underneath. So next thing we do is smart object. You can convert an image to a smart object. Remember how we made this image a rasterized layer from a smart object? Now you can convert it back to a smart object. Right now you notice this particular thing under this thing makes it it's a smart object thumbnail. So it's telling you that right now this object is a smart object. So I like to undo that so I can make more effects to it. So the next thing I want to do, okay, video layers. I'm not doing animations. Okay, I think that should be all for this. Okay, merge down, merge visible, flatten image. This is how you merge layers together, or you flatten everything. Flatten means to, no matter, even if you have 3,000 layers here, you make everything one image, just one. So that's that. But I really hope you don't use that. For people use it for some reason, for whatever reason they use it for. I don't like using it, because I like to have my files kept and in place. Now let's look at type. Okay, this is where we talk about text. So I'm going to be using this tool. This is the text tool. It is the text tool. So yeah, my laptop is a little bit slow, so yeah, it takes a lot of time to load, but I'm guessing not going to take that much time today. So I would write, I'll type something. Let's say I want to type, what should I type? And this is happening again. Okay, yeah, we are typing. Okay, 1 2 3 4 5. Let's just call it that. Okay, yeah, I have a lot of fonts. I have thousands of fonts, so that's why it takes a lot of time to load like this. Yeah, so I would be increasing the size of this by clicking on shift. I'll click on this and hold shift, and I drag it. I click on a particular corner, an anchor point, I hold shift, then I drag it. Now it increases my size. So now this is type. Now I can make type, basically means typography, text. You get, now I can do whatever I like with the text, with my text, with this panel, with this menu called type. The orientation, I can make it vertical. Notice how this changes from horizontal to vertical. Another thing I can do is I can extrude to 3D. I don't really like doing that option because it makes your laptop really slow for my type of laptop that is not exactly fast. Another thing you can do is you can convert it to a shape. You can make it like a smart image like this, and although you will not be able to go back to using, you will not be able to convert it back to a text, but if that's what you want, probably you are done with, you made a lot of edits to the text, and you want to make it, you want to leave it as that, and you want to turn it into something different, or whatever you want to do with it. Then you make it a shape, yes. And you can rasterize the type, like I said. You can wrap the text. Now wrapping a text is, if you have used Microsoft Word before, there's something called word art, so you can sort of bend it and do all of that, those trickery things with it. So that's that about that, and I'll just leave it like as that so you can remember. Yeah, I really hate working with types. And I think that should be all. Font preview side, yeah, that's all about type. Now let's come to select. Okay, so if I was to select something, I could deselect it. I could select everything here. Now everything here is selected. Notice these lines that are running around, these dots, these broken lines. That's the symbol or the sign to show that it's currently selected. And you can deselect anything that is currently selected by coming here to press deselect or Control D. Now the next thing you want to do is, let's check. The next thing would want to work on in the select icon, the select menu. You want to reselect what you just deselected, or select all the layers, or deselect all layers, or isolate the layer. I don't really use any of these things except for, I think, modify. Sometimes when I select some things and I want to either add to the selection or remove from the selection, construct the selection in a way that it will be smaller than the actual selection I made, then I click on modify, basically just modifying the selection or editing the selection. Now let's come to filter. Filter is when you click on smart convert for smart filters, you are converting a particular, maybe a text or an image or something that is not ready for a smart filter. And you click on it, then it changes the properties to functions that are ready, or characteristics that are ready for a smart filter. And you can extract things. You can open the filter gallery, and if you click on that, it brings up, it rasterizes with this image first. You notice that now it's telling me I should rasterize it before it does that. And if I click on that, so now it's rasterized my text, and these are filters you can add. These are filters you can add to your images. So right now, if you notice how the image is changing because of the filters I'm adding, and I don't want any of this, so I'm just going to exit. Next thing I want to do for filter is there is liquify, oil paint. There are many things you can do. You can blur it, you can distort, noise, pixelate, render, sharpen. So many things you can do in filter. Now 3D is a place I do not like to go to unless you really need to do something here. Maybe you are a 3D modeler or something. I don't like it to be here. Or maybe you want to work on text effects, then you can come here and create your text effect. But I do not like using this place because for me it doesn't really work well with me. I don't really see the essence of it in my designs, but a lot of people use it, and if it works well for you, then find more about it. I'll be get to know more about it and use it. Yeah. Now the next thing I will be talking about is your view. That is basically what you can see on your system, in your interface, where you can see. So the proof setup is saying you're working with CMYK, you're working with this, and the colors you're working with proof colors, gamut, warning, all of this is this. You're working with a square, pixel, aspect ratio. So these are the things that are on your system. These are the things that Photoshop is currently working on. And another thing you want to work on is you want to zoom in. If you want to zoom in, you can just click on this and it zooms in. And if you do want to zoom out, so it's basically what you can see. View basically means what you can see. You want it to fit to screen. This is fitting to screen. What else again? Going to be 100%. Now this is 100%, and you probably do not want that. So let's go back to fit on screen, and 200%. That's even more. Okay, we don't have to do any of that anymore. Now if you want a print size, you click on this and it brings it to a print size to tell you this is how it's going to be printed. And screen mode, if you want this is the standard screen mode, but you want a full screen, maybe to view your design in a better way without all of these tools interacting with the awesomeness of your design, then you can make it a full screen, or a full screen. You can make it a full screen with a menu bar, that is this, all of these options, or a full screen itself, just a full screen without anything at all, just a full screen on your design. Extras, you want extras to show, and when you click on this show, it means you want these are certain things that you want to show on your design. If I click on grid, you notice how there's a grid on my design right now on my page, on my canvas, and I do not really like grids unless I am working with some maybe typography, or maybe a magazine or something that I'll need to be sure of the exact accurate places I'm putting my text. But I don't really need grids unless I'm working with the logo, and that's on Illustrator. Okay, the next thing I'll do is, and I hope you're enjoying this class. Okay, next thing we'll talk about is rulers. Now I've noticed these things here that look like rulers. Literally, they are rulers, and they are things that help you to know, okay, this is how big and what is the size of my current canvas, and I can increase the size to what I want without going to go and check what it is, just by looking at the ruler, and it keeps me on track. And you can snap to guys, snap to layers. You can snap into means you want it to be attached to it and to follow it no matter what happens. It depends on that. Now the next thing is new guides, log guides. Okay, let's move to Windows. Now it's basically, except I said view was what you can see on the screen, the interface. Windows is more like the actual interface. Now this is talking about how do you want your files to be arranged. You want it to be like a tile. Let's make it a tile. If you notice how this, now the two files I'm working on have arranged themselves in a tile format. And if I do not want that, if I want it to be vertical, if I want it to be horizontal, it look like this. But I don't really like that. I like it more like this. Sorry, I like it more like this, so that now there are tabs I can just switch to the tab that I need. Now next thing is workspace. So like I said, if you're into photography, there are certain things you will need and some things you will not need. So when you click on photography, this is currently for photography actually. So if you would choose maybe let's say essential default, it comes like a designer basically doesn't need all of those photography things. So these are like what you need for a designer. So that's why there are certain things that you might not need to know in Photoshop. If you want to know everything, is a good thing, but I would prefer and I would advise that you learn the things that you will need for now before you venture into things that you just want to explore. Then there's for typography, it would arrange it in a way that now you see that typography is just for text. So it's talking about text right now. It arranges the interface for text only. Now okay, my laptop is at it again. So yeah, now these are options that you would like your your interface to have. If I click on this, now the character is going, and if I click back on it, character is back. So there are literally many things that you can do on Photoshop. The literally many things you can add to Photoshop. And the last thing that we'll be looking at there is help. And well, after we look at help, you'll see that many other let's look at help for now. I don't think you need to click on help except you want to connect to the internet. But if you ever need to click on help, these are Photoshop Online help and many other things about the plugins and everything. But in the next video, I'll be teaching more about the tools, and in the following video after that, I'll be teaching about layers. So we can I've broken everything down. I know this took a lot of time, but it is very essential that you learn them. So this is basically what you need to learn. And next class would be talking about the tools. This is even longer, but it's very interesting. I promise you, it's very interesting. So see you in the next class. Okay, we made it to the end of today's class. Well done. Okay, if you liked what you just finished watching, or you learned something really impactful today, please see the subscribe button below to get more design classes like this. See you in the next class.